the recording's still fine, even though our stuff is whatever.
A little buggy.
But, yeah. So welcome to the greatest travel podcast in the universe. More than likely, possibly. It's also the 45th most listened to English speaking podcast in Myanmar. So Dan, while you are part of something major here, I just want you to know that we're talking Colombia, the best things to do for like a 10 to 14 day trip, the best places to go, things to do, things not to do. Don't get, robbed like we kind of did. Not with a knife or anything, but more financially, I guess.
I'd say so.
Yeah. Conned? Maybe conned is a better. Rob sounds like guns.
Fleeced.
Yeah, fleeced. I've had a lot of success in Latin America lately. At least this one wasn't too crazy, but yeah, so we're gonna go through it. Dan is a massive traveler. He's been around the world. One time he wrote for the website when he was like doing this Egypt and Asia and Africa backpacking trip. And then what happened? You lost your laptop or it got stolen or both?
Oh my gosh, I totally forgot about that.
Yeah.
No, so I was working on a ski resort in Australia,
Oh.
and I was a lifty. And
Yeah.
one night you would ask me to do that. Holy shit, this was like what, 2 years, 2, 3, 4, I don't even know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what I was doing is I was writing you out a list of things to do in Asia, I believe. And
You're writing full articles.
and I had a whole page or two typed out, and I'm not a writer. Honestly,
Yeah.
I hate writing. I'm not like about it at all. So when you asked me to do that, I was like, all right, I'm gonna do this. Like I'm gonna really put some time into it.
Yeah.
I wrote out this whole thing on my laptop, and it literally just died out of nowhere and turned off, and none of it saved. It was on like a primitive 2011 Mac Air or something.
Yeah.
All of it vanished, but yeah, I was pretty traumatized from
That's
the whole.
fair. Well, I'm hoping that this recording doesn't fuck up then either.
Yeah. But you know what's funny is Myanmar. Are those stats real?
No, I don't think so.
I was like, Jesus Christ, you got people in Burma,
Yeah.
Myanmar that are listening to your podcast?
Well, like one time I got something that said I got like a notification from Amazon that said it was a 96 most listened to travel podcast in Canada. And I was like, that's so random. Why are you saying that?
Got you.
But now it's got to be bigger than that, I would assume.
I'm
I'd
like,
bet we're probably like this. It's got to be top 50 in Myanmar for English speaking. You know,
that's hilarious. I'm
if
like,
I'm 96 in Canada, hands down Myanmar.
your personal fact checker over here, making
Yeah.
sure everything's kosher. We were actually going to go to Myanmar when my buddy Nick and I were living in Thailand, but I think there was like a coup or some shit that happened, so we didn't do
that'll happen. Well, yeah, with our luck, it's probably for the best you didn't do that.
Yeah.
So we have conflicting. Well, it's kind of tough. So if you're going to go to Colombia, well, I think we both know if you only have 10 to 14 days, if you're like a true traveler, like backpacker, you can stay there for as long as you want and hop around everywhere. So that's not hard. But we're talking more for like the casual, regular vacation, trip. You only have a few weeks of vacation a year, and you got 10 to 14 days in Colombia. I think you have to pick 2 places because I did 3 in like 12 or 13 days, and it was just too quick.
Yeah.
In each.
When were you there again? What?
Like 2 months ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
2-3 months ago.
That's what I was telling you ahead of time too, right? I was like,
well, I extended my trip to be there longer for like 20 days, but then I had to change it and make it shorter, and so that's what kind of screwed me. So when I was long, like 21 days, I think all 3, like I did Bogota, Medellin, and Cartagena, and but yeah, with only like 12 or 13 days, I should have only done 2. But I'm glad I saw them all.
Yeah.
But you would pick which one? Where would you pick at your 2 places to go to?
Yeah, I think beforehand we were talking about it, and you were like, "Where do you think I should go?" And you told me you wanted to spend like 6 of your 12 days or something in Bogota, and I was like about to tackle you. I was like, "You're not doing that."
And you thought the same about Cartagena too. You're not a fan of for many days.
No. Did I?
I thought so.
If I said that, then maybe it was just my blood boiling from us getting robbed. Because I absolutely love Cartagena. Like,
okay.
Right? I think Medellin was just a little bit more my style.
Yeah.
It was a very tough decision, but we had a week there, which is even less time,
Mm-hmm.
and we split it just 50-50 down the middle between
Yeah.
Medellin and Cartagena. But in your experience, what was Bogota like? Did you like it?
I think they're so equal. I would have to choose. So Cartagena, I kind of liked, but it was almost
What do you mean
like
equal? Equal to what?
everything. Like Bogota was kind of cool because it was like a totally different Latin America. Like it
More
was in the
industrial or?
altitude. There's this one area. What's the area called? Chipinero, I want to say.
Mm.
And it was just like if I just dropped you in there, and you would think you're in like North Vancouver or Seattle or
North Van?
yeah, like the most expensive part in Canada. Just like
Okay.
there's like mountains and coffee shops and cafes. Like if you never spoke to anyone, didn't hear any Spanish, and just were dropped in like where we were in this
Yeah.
spot, and you like saw how green it was and the temperature was perfect.
So would you say it's more like affluent in the city in Bogota,
I think so. I think it definitely seems. I don't even know how to
in that
explain
area?
it.
The reason why I
There's a
ask is because
yeah.
we had this tour guide named Robinson while we were there, and
Hmm.
obviously we have another few friends that have been there, and their Uber driver a couple years back when they went was this guy Robinson, and he ended up taking them
Hmm.
everywhere. So we did the same, and he was telling us, since he's a local and he's grew up there, that most of the like poor people are actually up in the mountains of Medellin,
Oh
and
yeah,
more
yeah,
richer people are in the city, which is kind of the opposite of what we would think of a city
yeah,
here, right? Like mostly if you're like here in Scottsdale,
yeah,
on the mountain of Camelback, you have like these mansions and
yeah,
these beautiful houses, but it's kind of the opposite.
yeah. I think I like Medellin the most, and then if I was to choose a second, Bogota would be close. But Cartagena is nice just because it's you can go on a little beach trip.
All right.
And but the one thing about Cartagena is like the water kind of sucks and the beach kind of sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like if I'm gonna go for a beach trip, and like I always say that there's like two types of people who vacation and people who travel. So like me and
Right.
you travel, and like we want that Medellin, we want that Bogota,
Right.
where Cartagena definitely has some culture and history to it. But if I want a beach vacation, I'd probably go to a myriad of other places if all you want to do is just lay on the beach,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
beaches
I
aren't
think
great.
when I was planning the whole trip and kind of building the scaffolding for what we were going to do,
Yeah.
um, one of the things I did is I went and watched like No Reservations or Parts Unknown because I
Oh
loved it.
yeah.
And he broke it down like the Pacifico experience was more of like Cali or the coast, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have like Medellin and Bogota that are more of like the mountain experience, and then
Yeah.
there was also like the Rio Hacha, that area in the northeast where it's like kind of shippy and islandy
Yeah.
there, like Caribbean almost, similar to Cartagena in a way. You can go like scuba diving and everything,
Yeah.
um, but yeah, it was interesting when he said that because then I was like, okay, what are we looking for, you know,
Yeah.
in our group?
Yeah. I think Medellin is like unparalleled compared to a lot of places. Like I loved it. It's so interesting.
What was
So
the
much stuff to
biggest
do.
difference between Bogota and Medellin, or Medellin, whatever you want to call it?
Well, I didn't have a chance to, but there's like so many cool, like you obviously the neighborhoods, and you go to like do Comuna 13, those kind of things.
Community
There's the
13 was
history.
cool.
Yeah, there's all
Yeah.
that. But then there's also like hikes that I never got to do that are just from everything I read and saw pictures of, it's just like stunning. There's like waterfalls and stuff in the mountains, and
Yeah. Yeah.
I never had a chance to do that like little tram thing, which it's touristy, but
Boulevard?
still, yeah, it's still cool. There's a ton of restaurants on the mountain. There's so many cool rooftops if you just want a rooftop party. I feel like there's everything that you want to do aside from like the beach is there. The temperature is
Yeah.
perfect. The food is,
In
incredible.
contrast to Bogota, like what was it? Just more industrious there? Or?
Yeah, so like Bogota only had like a few things, but it's just kind of neat to be like Montserrat is like this hike, and there's this market on the top. So you
Mm,
do the hike and like overlook all Bogota, and it's really pretty. Um, then like Little Candelaria is kind of a chic neighborhood. But then you can go to like a couple markets that are just kind of more, Latin American type markets, which are cool. And there's a bunch of museums and history. So I guess the more I talk it out, I would maybe skip Bogota, but it was still like if you have the time, I still enjoyed it because it was
yeah.
just
Yeah, I'd
yeah.
agree. I mean, you have to fly in there regardless, pretty much. Like,
That was the other reason I did that because I didn't have much time. So I was like, I have to fly in there, I might as well see it.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
else the
exactly.
cost was like an extra grand to fly into Cartagena and out of. Medellin, which I think we end up doing anyways. But
Yeah. So I mean, if you're on a trip and you're trying to plan it out and you only have like what 10, 14 or
yeah,
15 days, in my opinion, if you want to do Bogota, maybe just a day or two based off of your
yeah,
experience. I haven't personally been, but just from what I've read, like there's a lot better places to spend your time.
yeah. I think the thing that sucks, and I'm sure you know, is like I can't. It sucks to go to a place for like a day and then you like unpack and do all, especially like if you know, especially if you're with like a woman or even me who just packs their entire. I'm the worst overpacker.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
think like just from a stress and relaxing and just being able to enjoy it, it's like I would even just skip Bogota if you had to and just go Medellin and Cartagena, unpack once and be happy, you know?
Yeah, and those are the things you want to think about, right? If you have a
Mm-hmm.
group and, um, it depends on what your plans are, what the vibe of the
Yeah.
trip is, all of that. But were you guys more of like the team hostel or were you team Airbnb or hotel?
Uh, so now at this point in my life, I think I've said this on my articles and my podcast enough. Like I'm team, like I spend like money now, where I used to be like team, like find
Yeah,
cheap. I still try and find value, but what I loved about Colombia, like I'll typically spend anywhere from around $200 is what I try and hit. Obviously, if you're in Miami, like Latin America, a
yeah,
200. If you're in Miami or somewhere in the US or Hawaii, you have to spend much more for like a 4 star. I try and limit 4 stars my floor. But what was incredible about Colombia, it was like the greatest value on earth. So I think it was 250 or 300
a
for the
night.
four, yeah, for the 4 seasons. So it's like I
Oh,
was looking to spend because you can stay at a nice place for like 100 to 150 in all those cities, right?
for sure. Yeah, yeah,
And I was like, the Four Seasons is like the nicest hotel I've ever seen. Like it looks like it's out of a movie. It's the Casa Medina,
yeah,
and that's I want to say it was 300 or maybe 350 after fees or whatever. But I was like, I will pay that extra $100 I wasn't going to for like this once in a lifetime.
yeah,
Hopefully not, but like that hotel in Salt Lake or sorry, whatever, Park City or Vancouver or wherever would be like $1,000, $1,500. But it was just such a good value.
never stay there. Yeah,
Yeah. And that's the same thing I did Iteca Slow Beach in Cartagena, and it was expensive, like the most expensive, but it was still $300 a night. And it was, you get taken care of like a king, which, you know, is we're not used to from our old traveling days or,
they like rubbing your feet with lemongrass or what? They're
yeah, exactly. And that you like text them like whatever you want. I'm like, hey, I need this. Boom, it's at my door.
like a big green leaf. They're just
Yeah, you get that. It's out of this world, all the stuff they do. And then I
yeah,
stayed at in Medellin, Marquis. The Marquis was like cool. It was kind of right in what's the main tourist area?
El Poblado.
Yeah, El Poblano, and just a short walk to. I love that other area better. What's it called? It's like a little bit fancier, but so you know, like a 5 minute walk from El Poblano, not even 2 minute.
Is it where the soccer stadium is, like Laureles?
No, I'll pull it up somewhere, but
Yeah, we actually wanted to go to. Have you heard of that soccer team, Nacional,
yeah,
the green and white team there? One of our friends had said that that was like one of the best experiences going to one of those games, just packed with Colombians. They're just super into the game, enthusiastic, like going absolutely bananas during the game. And we
yeah,
wanted to go to one, but the dates just didn't work out because we only ended up getting like 3 or 4 days in Medellin, and I think they
uh,
were in like a couple days later. But yeah, that was in Laureles, and that's like 5 minutes away, I think. So
that's what happened to me. I wanted to go to a soccer game in Bogota or Medellin, but it was just off season. It was like the 1 month out of the entire year no one's playing, so I was upset.
yeah,
We can hop into once I figure it out. Well, I'll just figure it out when we talk about it. But so we got the places we should visit. Now the things we should do. Where do you want to start with Medellin? I guess or
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well, I guess I'll have to find this goddamn place I was talking about.
Yeah, I mean, while you're doing that, I can give a few recommendations. I pulled up my
Oh yeah,
itinerary from when we went, and this was back in February, granted. So I
yeah,
kind of forgot. You know how when you travel and you just forget like everything
yeah.
you did? When people ask you for recs, you're like, I don't remember. I like made sure to write it all down. But yeah, there's a couple places I definitely recommend going to. This place called the Criminal Taqueria, like right in El Poblado, is
Okay.
super good. I'd recommend going there absolutely. And
So that's
then
like a restaurant or a bar or a mixture.
it's like a little mixture, but it's like it's almost like just a little pop-up shop, I would say, like right in the middle. You can sit in anywhere, any of the chairs for any of the restaurants, essentially. It's not like you're going inside of this restaurant in particular and you just go up and grab your food and they hand it to you kind of thing. It's not like
Yeah.
you
Oh, I know
sit.
what you're talking about. That was right next to where I stayed, right next to the marquee.
Yeah, yeah. And
And was there
then
a little market, like a flea market, just really tiny, like in the park there next to it?
I think it was, yeah, I think it was just right down the street there, but
Yeah.
there's tons of little restaurants just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that place was fantastic. I don't remember the name of the other place that we went to, but it was like famous traditional food.
Yeah.
Because like I always like to try something that's traditional or like
Yeah.
you should try when you're in these places. And I think it was something like Bandeja Paisa or whatever.
Hmm.
Because Paisa is like the people, right? The name of the
Yeah.
people from that area. But yeah, that food was really good. I honestly didn't really find like the Colombian food amazing. There wasn't
No.
a particular thing about it that I was like, oh, I need to try this. But that Robinson tour guide showed us some really good traditional food, like the little empanadas they have. Oh my
Yeah.
god, so good.
What are they called? We should tell everyone it's like the main food you have to try. On, I've got a list of like the top Colombian foods you have to try.
Yeah,
So an arepa. So the arepa is what you're talking about, which is kind of like an empanada and it'd be filled with meat, eggs, other stuffing, whatever. And then I'm pronouncing it wrong, but ajioko is like that chicken soup.
I don't know if I tried that.
So it's kind of cool. It's just basically chicken noodle soup, but with
Yeah,
a bunch of other stuff thrown in it. Like, but then they also cook the chicken, so it's kind of like a lot of all like a chicken stew. So like the
the
chicken's cooked
hodgepodge of
for,
random stuff.
and the chicken's been like slow cooked in that broth for 24 hours.
Mm.
And there's like a grandma who made it for you. And it's just
Yeah.
outrageous. And then there's a carajillo. Do you ever drink carajillos?
No, what is
So
that?
it's like an espresso martini, but the Latin version.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was
No.
created in Spain, or they argue it's Spain or a Latin American country who did it first.
Hmm.
But it's with liquor 43, so it's like espresso martini. It makes you feel like fancy.
Right up your alley.
Yeah, exactly. Espresso martinis, but the Latin version. And then chicha. Did you try chicha?
Chicha.
It's like a beer made of like fermented corn and honey, and it can either be like 0.5% or it can be 8%, depending where you
Oh
drink
man,
it.
that reminds me of the Chong in Thailand.
Oh yeah.
The little elephant beer. Oh my god. You, same shit. Like you drink
Yeah.
like three of those and you think that you're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So one time you are, the other time you're like,
Yeah.
who drugged me? But
Well,
no, I was a
they well, go ahead.
but
And they like make it on the side of the road in like a little like jug. So it's like they
no,
kind of like they give it to you in like a ladle and stuff.
I was a Club Colombia guy. Like I was drinking that most of the time. So
Yeah, that's
I didn't
fair.
try that to be fair. But another
You
thing,
kind of have to find it in random places.
okay. Yeah, another thing you should know though is we did a week in Ecuador and then one of our buddies joined us from New York for the second half of the trip for the week in Colombia. And he was essentially like a Spanish translator.
Oh,
And I was doing like 30 days of Duolingo before this trip, thinking, oh, I'm going to work on my Spanish and like
yeah.
writing shit down. And
Do you
then when he,
suggest that? Did it even help at all?
what?
Do you suggest people doing Duolingo? Like, did it help at all, or
Yeah,
is this kind of
yeah,
like,
I mean, but if you bring somebody down that knows fluent Spanish,
yeah,
it ruins it because like you don't get to work on anything. I prefer
yeah,
to be like thrown into the deep end because you
mm-hmm,
just have to. But at that point, it didn't matter. But it ended up being great because he was literally like translating everything our tour guide was saying to us, and
okay,
it ended up working out. But you should know that I don't know many of these Spanish
yeah,
uh, phrases or foods for that reason, probably.
me either. Unless I just researched it. I found the place. So the area is called Provenza.
Oh, Provenza, yeah, yeah.
So it's just literally 2 blocks up from El Poblado, depending where you are.
Yeah,
And there's
that's
like
where
those
like the balls at
streets,
stuff, right?
and there's like streets and streets of like nicer looking restaurants and bars than like what you find down in El Poblado. I feel like that's like more hostly, where Provenza was just like
Yeah,
not even upscale. It was just like dressed up pretty. It was less loud, less people like come here, come here, come here.
yeah.
It was
Uh,
really cool.
did you do a tour with anyone there, like a guide or anything?
Yeah, I did the Community 13 guide, which is like a must do, as we know.
Yeah, yeah. It's just crazy to me because our guide had grown up there and was like the coolest guy ever. And we
Hmm.
actually had a friend who was living there. he was working there for the past 2 months, so he knew the
Mhm.
city pretty well too. And he was telling us to go with this guy, and he took us from like El Poblado and Provenza, these nice areas,
Yeah.
and you go like a couple miles away, and he was taking us to these like the spots where people actually live, and
Yeah.
it was insane seeing this one street that he took us down. It looked like the only equivalent I could think of is maybe Skid Row, but
Yeah.
I mean, obviously 20 times worse. These guys are sitting on the sidewalk, crack pipes in hand. It's like the scariest scene ever, and it's like
Yeah.
so sad to see. You didn't
I
happen to go to that
imagine.
area, did you?
No, I kind of wish I did. Well, I wouldn't want to do it with like a girl, but like I wish I would
Yeah,
like with guys.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that kind of stuff is not like
Ins-
India always was like that to me. Like everywhere I went in India was just so much
Yeah,
poverty and everything.
I was gonna bring that up too because I could only think of India as the only like that's the only comparison that I even
Yeah.
thought about because Varanasi to me is like
Yeah.
sticks out for that reason, like burning bodies on the side of this river,
Yeah.
their loved ones, and then like
And
all those sadhus or whatever that are
yeah. And people just
it's
sleeping on like there a homeless person sleeping on the ground every step
yeah, it really
you
makes
take.
you come home with a new set of eyes, you
Yeah.
know.
My last podcast was India with my buddy Trey, who I went with. I'll have to rehash it with you, but everything you're saying is kind of like exactly what we're kind of saying. It was like the wildest, unique place on earth.
Yeah, yeah, it's nuts.
Um, so Medellin, also don't ever go. I'm told, like I'm sure your local people said, don't go to any like what's it, Pablo Escobar tours. They like hate him, and it's like they're anti supporting anything to do with him. Like he's almost like Voldemort. Like you don't say his
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
so that's like a
I
don't do.
I heard from the local guy like yeah, there's a mixed kind of thing, like a mixed emotion on it. Most people feel that way, though, is what he was saying.
Mm-hmm.
But the number one thing not to do, allegedly, is to bring up like Pablo Escobar, because most of them have like a negative sentiment towards it.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of saying.
But yeah,
He's Voldemort. You can't say his
Baltimore.
name. Um, and then Park RV. That's the park I was thinking about. It's like up in the mountains. And you just like hike forever, and there's supposed to be waterfalls and all that kind of stuff.
Where the cable cars are, right?
Yeah, I think you take cable car to it. And then there's like the botanical garden. There's a bunch of museums, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think we agree. Is there anything else in Medellin that you're like a must do before you go to Cartagena?
Yeah, definitely. Just to throw a couple places out. If you like to get after it and have a good time, you definitely want to make it over to uh, La House Provencia. It's like the most fun bar, and right next to it, literally like connected, is this place called Vintrash. Did you go to either of this?
Yes. I didn't because we were just on our last legs, and but I like had a drink kind of outside on the
Oh
patio
my
there.
It was yeah, it's right on the patio because we would start out the night by just having beers and playing cards right there because everyone sits
Yeah.
out there, and then after you just go in and it's so much fun. Like you don't really understand why people like Bad Bunny and all of the Latin
Uh-huh.
music up here until you go down there because
Yeah.
it's the opposite of what you see up here. It's like people are actually dancing, like genuinely dancing.
Yeah.
Everyone is. No one's standing around and just like that reggaeton vibes going on and you start moving your hips a little bit and it's like I didn't even know I had this.
Yeah.
So you definitely want to go there. And then one thing I think you missed is I don't know if you hit
I
Guatape.
was about to say, yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
I
yeah, we did.
didn't, but if you have because I only had 2 days in Medellin or two and a half,
Yeah,
and we were just wiped. But yeah, so Guatape is how far out of town?
it's like 2 hours, but it ends up being a bit longer.
Like the
Uh,
whole tour, you have to go on a tour, right? Pretty much, and it's like 8 hours.
yeah, probably not that long. I think it took us probably like six total, but
Hmm.
there's traffic, a little bit of traffic, obviously, and then we went with that tour guide who took us, so he was doing
Okay.
his own thing, but it's about 2 hours away, without traffic, I'd say, and then you basically get up to this giant rock with
Yeah.
stairs that are built into it, and I don't really even think there was a particular reason why they built the stairs into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that it was a money thing to get people.
Yeah. It looks beautiful, but yeah, it was one of those things where I've done it enough where it's like a whole day trip, because like if you do it on a tour, it's like
Yeah,
I think it's even like 10 to 12 hours, because like they include lunch and walking around the city. So it was like, did I really just want to be on a 12-hour day on a shitty little bus, packed in tight, just to like take a picture and go home? You know?
absolutely. Yeah, and that's where you want to think about like those things when you're planning the trip,
Yeah.
right? Like, and then obviously if anyone needs the recommendation for this dude, I can
Yeah.
send them over to whoever's
Yeah.
listening, me and Mar. So
Yeah. I'll put it in the notes on the Spotify thing. The,
yeah,
yeah, I did that in Peru. There was like the Rainbow Mountain, I think it's called.
love that. That was such a cool place.
Really? I was like, Peru or the Rainbow Mountain?
Rainbow Mountain.
Oh, I was like, I just didn't do it. I was like, I saw a picture of someone like having a thumbs up in front of the Rainbow Mountain after like an 8-hour bumpy bus ride. And I was like, nah, not for me. I'm
Oh,
glad you went.
you're a chicken, dude.
I just didn't want to do it. It just seemed like it wasn't like the bang for a full day travel.
Yeah, it was a rough one, especially coming
Yeah.
off of a parasite infection. That's never good.
Yeah. I was like, yeah, there's so much stuff I'd rather do than just like
Yeah,
see, when you just go to see something, you're like, oh, there it is. And you take a picture of it and then you go back. I've never
yeah,
been a fan of that kind of stuff.
yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's a journey though. Like you got to hike up that mountain. You got to work for that view.
yeah, that's fair. Well, no, because there's also like the option that you can just be like a tiny hike. I think you can like drive like right up to it
Oh, really?
almost. Yeah.
Oh,
So I think we covered most of Medellin. Remember the Marquee Hotel? I loved it there. The Click Clack's another nice one. Is there like a more affordable hotel you stayed at you really suggest?
yeah. So like we wanted to split it up between hostels and Airbnb,
Mm-hmm.
and I actually brought somebody down, my buddy Steve, who I think you've met,
Yeah.
and he had never really left the country besides like Mexico or
Oh
Canada.
yeah.
And what happened is I was like, hey man, we gotta book like at least half this trip hostels because
Yeah.
it's such an experience doing that if you've never done it before.
Mm-hmm.
Initially, his thought process was like, oh, let's do Airbnbs. Like, don't we want our own space? But then he realized after trip, he was like, that is the best way to meet people when you're traveling
Yeah.
and travel cheaply, right? Like, I think we paid at this place, Selena, maybe like 15-20 bucks.
Oh, that's where I did my tour out of.
Okay.
Like the
Yeah, yeah.
Community 13. Like
Literally in
yeah.
the heart of like El Poblado.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool too. Like just walking around Medellin, there's so much stuff to do. And then pronounce, so like we've never. I asked a million people like Medellin or Medellin. I guess there's no right answer. It just depends.
I've noticed when you say Medellin back here, people
Yeah,
laugh at you like, "Oh, you
yeah,
can't be cultured."
like Barcelona.
Is that what
Yeah,
people?
so I met actually someone recently from Barcelona, and they said that's the way you say it to
No,
Barcelonians. I know. I thought I was shocked too.
that's how Pep Guardiola says
Yeah. Well, I
it.
mean, Pep knows
No, that's bizarre. I thought that was always just like
a
a
joke. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I guess Medellin. Like I've
I
just
think
heard.
Medellin's the way to say it. Like that's how they say it. But
I think, but if you're from a different part of the city, country, you say Medellin. It's
yeah,
almost like different accents.
different dialects and stuff.
Yeah, different dialects. It depends like what side of the country you are. But yeah, I think maybe if you're in Medellin, you say
Yeah.
Medellin.
The last thing I would actually recommend that just popped into my head is that coffee triangle.
Oh
You
yeah.
ever hear about that? It's called like
No, but you can do like a coffee tour, right?
Cafetero or whatever. Yeah, it's like
Mm-hmm.
some of the best coffee in the world, some of the
Yeah.
highest quality coffee. But we didn't. Again, that's something that's like 4 hours outside of the city.
Yeah.
Is you need a day for that, right?
Yeah.
So
Well, and there's
we
like
just
some waterfalls too, like some real pretty hikes and waterfalls you can do outside, but it's
yeah.
like you said, a day trip. But yeah, the food and I think the food and like the party and all that kind of stuff is just great. Like just all the different restaurants. Like there's a lot of what's the high restaurant thing called? Uh, Michelin stars.
Oh yeah,
So there's
yeah.
no like Michelin stars in Colombia, but there's a bunch of chefs who have Michelin stars other restaurants. So it's basically
Hmm.
they just have their new restaurants haven't been named it yet, but you get like these tasting courses of that are unreal, and it's only
Oh
like
wow.
$200 or 150, where back here it'd be $1,000 per person. Or if
Yeah.
you're in Europe, it'd be $1,000 per person. And like same thing, these restaurants we went to, like overlooking the whole city, or like the most expensive restaurant in town in Bogota. I think we had way too much food, a tomahawk steak, 4 drinks each, and it was like $200 plus tip. Where like literally here in Phoenix, Scottsdale, it would be $600, $700. So
Yeah,
I definitely splurged because I was like, I'd rather do it here and have the same, meal back home. And
I didn't realize that there was no Michelin star restaurants because we had that in a part of our agenda was to go to a couple of them.
so
And
I think El Cielo, it is a Michelin star in Miami. That guy, but
hmm,
he has one in Medellin and one in Bogota. But they themselves are not Michelin star,
just the chef.
just a chef. But I think it's basically one and the same. I looked into it. 2021 was the last time they did Michelin stars. So when they do it, when they re up in next year or whatever, there's a good chance it'll be one kind of thing. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. So Cartagena, we yeah, I have like a love hate. Like I kind of liked it. It was cool. It was a unique beach town. I feel like it was equal to Puerto Rico, like San Juan.
San Juan?
Have you been to San Juan?
No, I haven't been there.
Kind of similar idea, like really like cool culture mixed with, a bit of urban, right on the beach, but then the beach isn't that great,
Yeah,
So it was a tough one for me if I like it or not.
yeah. It's almost like a Caribbean beach town that
Mm-hmm.
is in this old colonial city.
Yeah.
Because did you go to the castle or whatever it was called?
Yeah. So,
Yeah, so that place was interesting. Like, you're
yeah.
walking through all these tunnels. This place is built in like the 1500s, and it's all about like, I don't know if that was built to defend themselves from Spain or like what happened or
Yeah.
what, but it's a really neat city for that reason that you kind of feel like you're in this colonial time, but also like
On the
in this
water and
party zone on
parties.
the beach. Yeah, and apparently it's like a UNESCO World Heritage Site. You
Yeah.
know, with in the middle of like all of these crazy tourists, sex workers, drugs. Like it's this crazy scene,
Yeah. Mix of
and you
everything.
just like, what is happening? You
Yeah.
know,
And I also like that area. Getsemani was really cool.
get some money, get some money. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
the
That was
place is there.
cool. The Plaza Boulevard, the castle, the castle's Castle San Felipe de
Mm.
Baraja. So yeah, that
Yeah,
was cool. Like you said,
get some money. It was like more of like this vibrant kind of.
arts and
Yeah,
street
yeah, a lot of
food.
colors. It almost
Mm,
seemed like everything was super compact next to each other, like all the buildings and streets, and still
yeah,
gave off that colonial vibe. But yeah, a lot of good food in there too.
yeah. I was a big fan. I'm always a fan of street food. Like in Medellin, my
Mm.
favorite meal was in Comuna 13. There was just a bunch of street food, and it was like $2, and we got some super burgery thing. Like, oh, it was incredible.
Yeah, street food's great. Just got to be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then we went. The other thing I don't like Colombia, the beaches aren't great. I stayed on like a super nice resort, Ateca Slow Beach, with like it was just super calm, no partying. But it was nice. The beach was kind of nice. It was more like Los Angeles. Like the water wasn't super blue.
Do you have your life alert plugged in? Like everything
Yeah,
good? Okay.
yeah, everything was fine.
Everything
And
was calm and quiet.
yeah, and what else was there? The beach was like okay, but it
Yeah.
wasn't what you think when you think Caribbean beach.
Where is that? Like, is that in Boca Grande or is it like?
It's just 15 minutes across like a water fair. It's a big island, like right off the
Oh, it's
mainland.
the island. Okay, got you.
Yeah,
Yeah. Was that?
Tierra Bamba.
It's not a part of Rosario, is it?
No, so it's like it
Okay.
takes 15 minutes, where Rosario takes 2 hours on a boat.
Hmm.
And so ours, yeah, was 15 minutes on just a regular boat. It's Tierra Bamba is the island, so it was real chill. But
Yeah.
then if everyone, you get told to go to the Rosario Islands and the other place that we don't like.
The Playa Blanca.
Yeah, and what was the other place that we don't like that we'll talk about? Cholon.
Oh, see, I don't know the individual names of those
Oh,
Rosario islands, but
well, no, Cholon is where we like you sat in the water, and then Rosario is like just the kind of nice island with a bunch of like beach clubs and that kind of stuff. So it's pretty water out there, but it's like 2 hours to get there on a bumpy road
hmm,
ride. It's an all day thing,
yeah,
and it's kind of expensive. The other thing, like Colombia, I liked when we were in Medellin, Bogota, and in the inner city of Cartagena. Like you're there, everything's super cheap.
Yeah.
where you go to the Rosario Islands and you go out to Cholon, and you might as well just be like
Yeah, they
in
also
Mexico.
try and scam you and charge you
Yeah.
the thing. Like
So
we
it just
paid for
felt,
the all inclusive thing, and they were trying to like get us to pay for lunch, and we were like, "What are
yeah,
you talking about?" And it was
yeah.
also brutal because on that trip we had gone to a bar crawl the night before. I don't know. It sounds like you didn't do any of the hostels ever, but
Mm.
um, we stayed at this place called Viajero, and they did this bar crawl, and I've never been a part of something this crazy. It was literally like 150 people that were going from bar to bar, but all
Wow.
of them were cleared out just for us.
Oh,
And one of them was called Tulum Club or Tulum Club Bar or whatever. And this girl comes out with a violin in her hand, starts playing it to this like EDM song, and we were all just like,
hmm.
"What is happening right now?" There's like a pool. All these crazy Argentinians are like jumping in it. Fantastic time. But we woke up at like 6 a.m. So we got 1 hour of sleep, and then we went to the Rosario Islands. So it
Oh,
was
that's not fun.
for me to remember all the names of these little islands.
Yeah.
So hungover, I was literally about to uke everywhere on that boat.
Yeah. So there's like the Rosario ones, and everything's basically 2 hours away, so it's a full day trip, right? And so they'll take you basically to Rosario, then to Cholon, but like on Rosario, it's just kind of, it's cool. The water's prettier. You can snorkel, all that kind of stuff. But drinks are still this like American prices, or like a mixture of like like Mexico, like Cabo, expensive, like
Yeah,
touristy Mexico, where normally like regular Colombia is half the price of Mexico. I feel like it's more like Asian pricing. So it's almost like I went all that way to just kind of do something I could do in Miami, like party, have some pretty water kind of
yeah.
thing, and then getting ripped off on that. So we went to Cholon, and they gave us our little palapa, and they're like, oh, like it's all free. Like here, if you just buy food, it'll be free, and it'll be this. And then like, oh, do
Hmm.
you want, you should buy lunch for your guide. And it was just like really, like they bought like two of like the most expensive things and like some beer and water for the guides, even though the guides were just getting free food from like a little back in the hut, or could pay $1 and get, a plate. We're getting charged tourist prices. It was $6 a beer. They ended up charging, there's two of us. They charged us like for 27 rum and cokes, 25 beers, 8 margaritas, 4 pina coladas, and something else. I'm like, if we had this, we'd be dead. There's two of us. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
That sounds like
our
you on a night out, though. I'm not gonna.
yeah, that's fair. But it was a $700 bill, $800 bill, and I was like, if you tried to spend $800 in Colombia, like it's hard. I
Yeah.
went to the nicest restaurant and we spent $200
Did you end up
for.
having to pay that?
So some like older guy who was there, he was like the finance. I was like, look at this, like there's no way, like we're overcharged, we're this that.
Yeah,
And the guy's like, no, he said like he's trying to speak Spanish. Like he said they had 12. I told you that they had 12 rum and coke. So I was like, well, it says 27 on there. So right there, you can see that you're like scamming us.
yeah,
So then I was like, look, like there's no way we drank that much. All of a sudden, like we're paying for their lunch, like, but we're also paying them. It was just a weird thing. Like it's just real hustly, and like I'm used to like hustle and everywhere in Latin America, right, or everywhere around the world, you get hustled. But like there was just super aggressive, which really turned me off. And then I told him like, look, I'm not here to like haggle over all the way down to what we did. Like we paid closer to what we got, closer to $300. I was like, look, I'll just like meet in the middle and go 400 or 500. I think I paid 500. I'm not trying to like stay out here because they're all surrounding you and it's just fucking weird. So I was like, look, I'll pay $400 or $500 and get out of here. But I definitely, we had like 250 in drinks and food. It was wild. But then you said that you guys went on that trip and they took your credit cards when you went to Cholon, like your tour guys did, and then like took one of your friend's credit cards and then paid or cashed a
yeah.
bunch out.
So is Chalone the one where people are standing in the water right
Yeah,
side? Okay,
yeah,
then yeah, we did go there. So yeah, we actually I think I sent you the notes to
uh-huh.
it. We call it like the Great Boat Heist.
Yeah,
Is what happened is so this is the extension of when we woke up from like one
mm-hmm.
hour of sleep. Literally hop on. I think this is the worst I've ever felt in my entire life. We have some pictures of it from the morning, and we all just
Yeah,
like absolutely like melted candles. Really, just
yeah.
dead. Um, yeah, we're getting out there, doing our thing. We finally go to one island, go to another. The cool part about this, I will say, is they take you to this snorkel spot right in front of Escobar's old properties. That's like
Oh yeah.
and I don't know if you did the snorkel with the plane that is underwater, like right in
Oh
front of
no.
it. But apparently that there was one airplane that was coming in smuggling cocaine, and it
Yeah.
crashed like right in front of it. So you can
Huh?
dive or snorkel down and
That's
see it. It's
cool.
really cool, actually.
Yeah.
And it's absolutely gorgeous. Like it didn't ruin the experience because we didn't actually find out we got robbed until after. But
Yeah.
long story short, we pull up to that island and they tell us all to get off, and we get off. We wait for our food, and they gave me just like a fish that looked like it had been killed 5 minutes earlier,
Yeah.
and just fried in like a ton of oil. And I needed that really bad, so that saved my life. But um, I was taking pictures, walking around just like everyone does. We grabbed a drink or two,
Mhm.
and like 2 hours later, we finally leave. Let me get back on. And then they almost kill us on that boat. I swear. Like they were going like 120 miles per
And
hour.
and it's well known like that water's super choppy. Like people hate that whole
Dude,
ride out there.
we were holding on for dear life, like
Yeah.
ripping shots on that boat, thinking we were gonna die. But we don't until we get service realize that Alec, my friend Alec, he got um, like a notification from his bank saying that his credit cards got declined for
Yeah.
whatever reason. So he's like, "What the heck?" But he realized that his debit card somehow got charged 2 grand,
Yeah.
and we were like, "How? Okay, so this must have happened at like an ATM or something. You know how they put like the
Yeah.
little thing on the whatever, so it picks up
Yeah.
the number. But we ultimately did like a little investigation, quasi investigation, found the timestamps from the photos on that island, found out that his debit card got charged at the same time that we were there. So we had the proof of it. We put together this whole time,
Yeah.
everything. And what happened is the guy must have had like a point of service uh, processing system and
Yeah.
somehow overridden the code and charged them 2 grand. And because it's on a debit card, um, Wells Fargo decided that they're not going to reimburse him.
Yeah.
So he got robbed, but it was terrible because if anyone does do this, the recommendation would be to put locks on your bags when you go off the island, because typically what
Mhm.
happens with those guys that are in charge of those boats is they're contracted out, because we got a recommendation from our Airbnb to go with them from
Mhm.
the guy, but obviously they're contracted out, and they scam people all the time doing that same thing. So yeah, not a great experience,
Yeah.
but I would go back to Cartagena in a heartbeat, to be fair.
Yeah. Colombia, I felt like was the worst, especially Cartagena was the worst hustling I've ever experienced. Like it was just super aggressive. Like even the old massage ladies are like, "Oh no, it's free, just give a second." And then all of a sudden, like before you know it, they're like, "You owe us this," and like, and we're massaging, and then like the guys with the bracelets be like, "Oh no, just put it on, just put it on." Okay, it's this much money, and like
Mm.
the oysters, like try an oyster, it's free, and then all of a sudden, like you're, I'd be like, "No, I don't want one. No, I don't want one." Like you have to like say, like you have to almost yell no, or else they like shuck an
I didn't,
oyster and you're paying. It
I
was
didn't
crazy.
experience that actually.
I got it a ton, especially on the
What?
island we were on. It was like you're used to
Uh,
like anywhere in Latin America, obviously, like here, do you want it? And you're like, no, thank you. Like this was
yeah.
10 times as aggressive. It was ridiculous. And then
Hmm.
so I think that along with the kind of just trying to be fleeced in Cologne just kind of ruined it for me. Just kind of put like a sour taste on like
Yeah.
Colombia. And I just felt like it was like we went to Cologne and just partied. And like we went to like Rosario Island. It was just like a party. And it was also a party for the same cost that you could do in Miami. So it's like I didn't come to Colombia to party in Miami or to party in
Hmm.
Cabo. I kind of,
Cartagena, like in Centro or El Centro,
yeah, that's
I would
cool.
say. I mean, it is more expensive than other places, but not Miami. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
stretch.
Well, but like out in Cologne, like it was just, in town,
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Cartagena, it's like $1 for a beer. Cologne was like $6 for a beer.
Okay.
$8,
Yeah,
$10 for like a rum and coke. It's like, why am I
yeah.
paying US prices for?
And they're probably trying to take advantage of
Oh
people.
yeah, because that's what it is. So it's almost like I wish I'd never did that because it's just I
Yeah.
could go do that island trip in Miami and like
And
whatever.
honestly, like it wasn't that cool, like on
No,
Chalon, like it
that's what
was
I mean. It's just like a party.
yeah, it was a party and like I don't know, you could avoid it. I would
Hmm.
actually um
Hindsight,
yeah, no, I was gonna say replacing the Rosario Islands or Chalon with going up to Tayrona National Park.
but
If
that's
I
so hard to get to, right?
in retrospect, I would, but I would give up
Oh yeah,
two days in Cartagena to do that. Like
yeah.
because it's far, I think it's like 4 hours away.
I think even
Um,
more. But like, how do you get there? Because like, I wanted to go so bad. And for anyone who doesn't know, Google Tayrona National Park, and it's just like gorgeous. It looks amazing.
yeah, so the people I talked to were taking like a bus. Apparently, you can just take a bus, and
Yeah,
it does stop at like Santa Marta, and then I think there's a place called Palomino as well. But I've heard bad things about Palomino. I think that people have said the food isn't very good and the water's not very fresh. Like they've gotten sick there a lot.
yeah.
But Santa Marta apparently is kind of a neat town, one of the oldest
Hmm.
towns in Latin America, I think. But the national park, I've heard people absolutely rave about. Like if you stay
Hmm.
out there, you can sleep in like a hammock on the beach, go out through the jungle and do all of that. And then if you even have time, go up to that other city in the that little bay area up there.
Barranquilla.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it would be good for like longer time travelers and also like nuanced travelers like yourself, where I wouldn't suggest like random people to take a bus, vacationers to take a bus and like go on it. So if you're like a true traveler and you're like, yourself or me, like we can do it, where I wouldn't take a girlfriend who doesn't travel a lot there, or like if you're just a regular, this is
yeah, yeah. If
you're
you're
used to
staying,
Mexico beaches and that's what you do. Taking a bus in Colombia is a little
yeah,
unnerving.
yeah. If you're staying at a nice hotel and you don't want to do all of
Yeah.
that, but if you have any
Hmm.
aspiration to kind of get off of
Yeah.
the well-known path onto a beaten one, I'd definitely do that.
Me too.
Especially if you have a 14-day itinerary. Like
Yeah.
I would do that for sure
I
because
was
we
trying to
only
look at flights because I was like, I wish I could fly
yeah,
from Cartagena to like Santa Marta, but
yeah.
I don't
And
think there
domestic
was.
flights there aren't bad typically either.
Oh, that was nice too. Yeah, to everyone, like I think it was $100 at most, maybe $70 to just fly domestically. So like I went into Bogota to Cartagena to Medellin and then home. So it was like those flights in between were expensive at all.
So you didn't leave Cartagena? Like I know you could go up to like a mud volcano or something like an
I was
hour
looking
away.
at that, but I was like, yeah, it was just kind of. I was on the island for 3 days, and it was
Oh
kind of like
wow,
more like peaceful, relaxing, you know, chill. Not really my cup of tea, but it was
three
still fine.
3 days, huh?
Yeah. And within that, we did like a day trip out to the islands and a little fishing trip. We saw a bunch of dolphins.
Yeah,
And then we were in Cartagena itself for like a day and a half and did like the full Getsemani, the palace, and walked around everywhere. I guess 2 days, sorry. So saw like everything you kind of need to see.
yeah.
Yeah.
I think all in all, it almost seems like Cartagena is a city in Grand Theft Auto.
Yeah.
You
And it's
know?
really pretty. I think the best thing I liked about Cartagena was like we stayed at the Movich, and it's like one of the best places to eat there, like for a view, like for sunset. And it was cool, just like you looked over like all the whole city, and that was really pretty. Like, that was prettier than the beaches, and was so unique, like how it looked, as well as the restaurant that's on the wall. That was one of the coolest restaurants I've ever been to.
You know the name of it?
Uh yeah. I think what's how do you say water in Spanish?
Agua.
Yeah, no, that wasn't that then. Uh so yeah, you walk the walled city. He was Marina
Do you need to know any other words while we're?
Cafe Del Mar. So yeah, Cafe Del Mar.
I'm here all day if you need a translator. I
Perfect,
got.
thank you. Yeah, the
Yeah.
Agua one I really
You need to
needed.
know, like anything else, like hello or how are you, or
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
I don't speak English. I got all the.
um, so Cafe Del Mar is like on the wall, and you're literally sitting overlook. If you're lucky enough to, and there's a plenty of them of like the edge seats where you're against the wall,
Oh
and you're
yeah, yeah.
sitting right next to like a cannon. and like
Yeah.
overlooking everything.
Is it the coffee shop or is it the actual restaurant?
It's a restaurant. Like it's
Oh, okay.
full. I think you
Okay.
can get coffee there too, but like you can full on, and it's got a beautiful view. It's there in the Movich are the best place to watch sunset.
Mm.
So getting a seat on Sunset at Cafe Del Mar is like the hardest thing to do in Cartagena. But we went at like 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. at night and got seated right there, had some food, had drinks, like overlooking everything. It was so pretty at night still.
Yeah, I heard Havana Bar is also
Uh,
good, like salsa and stuff. And then there's like
what's that three
coffee.
level bar? If you're gonna go to bars, it was sick. It was one of my favorite bars I've ever been to.
Yeah, those honestly, like the nightlife in Cartagena was
Yeah.
probably some of the best I've ever been to.
Oh, Bar Akimilko. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
Alquimico.
El Quimico, yeah. That place is awesome. That, like I
Yeah.
said, that Tulum bar or whatever it was called is
Mm.
great. And then um, there was one called what was it called? La Jugada. Yeah, La Jugada was really
Yeah.
good. Yeah, so like,
Oh, and then there's this library, a coffee shop library. It just kind of reminded me like I was in Beauty and the Beast. It was like just a giant, had like the ladder, and it's right kind of in the.
El
Is it called
Centro.
the? Is it El Centro?
That's like the
Yeah,
main area where all
yeah,
the three-story bars and restaurants are.
yeah. It's called Abajo Libros y Cafe.
And there's actually like a cover charge on a lot of those places, believe it or
Yeah.
not.
So go to Abajo Libro y Cafe, or you can just Google Library Cafe Cartagena, and I'll take you there. It's just kind of cool, like unique. Grab a coffee there. They have an English book section. But yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah, overall pretty cool. I'd say if you have time, go check out those other places um, up in the Northeast. But if
Yeah,
not, staying in Cartagena,
so that'd
three.
probably be the best thing to do. Is like, well, yeah, that's the whole thing. It's like hard to like continue to split it up. Like you go 3 days and you got to repack and go to the place in the north,
Mhm.
Tayrona. Then you got to come back.
Yeah,
Probably have to stay another day there, unpack,
yeah.
and
Depends
then
on what you
fly
want.
out. Yeah,
But
it's just tough to manage that time unpacking, rechecking a hotel. Hotels obviously take forever to check in Latin
yeah,
America. You can't check in until 2. It's just like trying to find that perfect mix of not rushing to see every single thing. But
yeah,
yeah, I would say we agree like Medellin, Cartagena, and then if you can get to Tayrona and not make it too rushed, that'd probably be the best option.
100%. Yeah, if there's anything that I've kind of learned about it from traveling, it's just come up with like a plan
Mm-hmm.
system and then deviate from it based off of your gut and
Yeah.
figure it out. But I mean, yeah, if you only have that amount of time and you want to keep it simple, stupid, then just do Cartagena and Medellin and
Yeah.
break it down that way.
Yeah. I would go to Peru over Colombia. Would you?
Would you really?
Yeah. I think Cusco is one
Wow.
of my favorite cities on earth. Because it's
Cusco
like
was,
and it's like so pretty as out of like a library, and then it's like the gateway to like the what's it called, the Sacred Valley, and
yeah,
obviously to Machu Picchu.
yeah.
We'll have to do the next one we're doing is Peru. We'll have to do Peru together.
Oh man, I'd love to.
Yeah. Is there any other like things that we need to cover?
You
Did you
know,
go to Cali or no?
I really wanted to.
Yeah.
But one thing I'll typically do if people are scared about traveling or whatever is just go on like the government website
Mm-hmm.
and you can see like the travel advisory levels. And honestly, like for me, we would have gone with just myself and my buddy from Ecuador,
Yeah.
not my other friend, and neither of us knew very good Spanish.
Uh-huh.
So we didn't want to go to Cali because the level was at like 4 for like
Yeah.
robberies, armed robberies, all this kind of stuff. And not knowing Spanish there, we're like,
Mm-hmm.
only be there for a day or two anyways. Let's just put all of our eggs in Medellin and
Yeah.
Cartagena.
It seems
But
like
yeah,
Bogota,
I
Medellin,
know
and
it's the
Cartagena are
salsa
like the
capital
three
of the world,
main
and it's
spots to
like a
hit.
really great city, but we didn't go.
You froze on me. Oh, there you go. Did you hear me?
What's that?
Did you hear me? I think you cut out for a second.
Oh, yeah, you you just like froze, but
Yeah, yeah. So you,
all I was saying is that Cali
yeah,
just like the salsa capital of the world, and we just decided not to go.
yeah. That's what I was thinking. Like, if you had to choose, I feel like Medellin, Cartagena, and Bogota are like the main three that people like say if you're only traveling, pick from those three.
I've
And if
also
you have
heard
more time, you can go to Cali.
that Cali's completely fine too. So
Yeah.
it depends, but
I think people are scared of Medellin as well when it's like night and day from what it used to be 20 years
yeah,
ago.
yeah, exactly. Ever since it's gotten cleaned up and
Yeah.
been fine. But you just got to don't be stupid, right? Like, be aware of who's around you. Wear like a money belt. Like, don't put yourself in a dumb situation by wearing a nice gold watch out or anything like that.
Yeah.
Just be respectful, because no one's really flaunting in Medellin or Colombia for the most part.
When I got my Mexico City robbery. If no one's ever listened, I've got that on one of the Mexico City things. But it's like you always think you're invincible until you're not. Like it's never gonna happen to me, and then it does happen to you, and you're like, you could be. And like it wasn't my fault, but it wasn't also. I could have been smarter and not been like wandering around by myself in Mexico City, like away from my friends, kind of thing, for too long in like a local-ish area. And my friend, she actually just went and she got like her purse and stuff. She said she lost it and someone just snagged it when she left it, but she got like her purse and phone and stuff stolen in Mexico City. So yeah, just be safe. It can happen anywhere.
Yeah, that's good. I was planning on going down there to work for like a month, but
really, it's like I would say Mexico City. I said this in the Mexico City podcast, is one of the prettiest cities in the world. It's so cool.
Yeah, I heard it's incredibly affordable for food too. Just
amazing food. They've got like it's such a melting pot. Like there's Greek restaurants, Italian restaurants, obviously Mexican restaurants, and there's so much good food and so much random diversity for like that kind of stuff. And I was saying, I've told people this, like I could drop you in like 5 different areas in Mexico City, and you would never know if you were in New York in Central Park, on Rodeo Drive in LA, in Vancouver, in Rome, or in Barcelona, or even Rio. Like if you had no idea, you'd never been to those places, and I just dropped you, you'd be like, "Oh, I'm in Rome. Oh, I'm in Barcelona. Oh, I'm in Vancouver. Oh, I'm in New York City." It's wild.
I feel like that's been every city now.
No, because what was the one in Medellin Bogota was like Vancouver. It was just like very.
Yeah.
But this one is just, it's got this history area that like the downtown. I don't know.
Like, what if I told you I could drop you in this city and you could see 7 wonders of the world?
So there's a park. It's twice or 3 times the size of Central Park. It's like the biggest, biggest urban park in the world. Oh, and they have their own version of Venice. You can like paddle down this random river system in Mexico City. So you think you're in Venice. It's like a Mexico version of Venice. It's definitely not, but it's colorful and cool. So you can do that. And then they've got pyramids, massive pyramids. So it's like you're in Egypt. So yeah, I stand by it. You can be in 10 different places in Mexico City.
Azteca, is that the name of it?
No, that's a soccer field. You know better than that.
Oh shit.
Chimilco is the Venice.
Yeah.
And I forget what the pyramids are called, but you can hot air balloon over the pyramids.
You can delete that part.
Yeah. Yeah, you're getting shunned from our soccer. Everything.
Yeah. I'm not going to be let into Burma.
Yeah. But yeah, Azteca you have to go to as well. All right. Well, we talked too much about Mexico City. All right, we're gonna do Peru next at some point. Daniel Wall, thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Hope everyone enjoyed an hour podcast. We crushed it with just
that was an hour
information. Yeah, 58 minutes.
Holy cow!
It just breezes by. We gotta get some work done. It's Friday. We gotta knock some shit out.
Jesus.
All right. InspiredTravelLead.com, the biggest podcast of travel in the universe and Myanmar.
Should I throw my sponsors in?
Yeah, Carissimo.
Yeah.
And what's the car thing company you work for?
I work for Turo.
Turo, yeah. Shout out Turo for all your Airbnb car needs.
That's it. I appreciate it.
All right, there, man.
All right, man. Catch you.
Bye.